about that. I keep on forgetting that some of this, because I'm live streaming on BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, and YouTube. Okay, so I forgot to do one little thing here. Don't worry about it. I need the, what is it? Which one should I use? Okay, here we go, simple one. So let's go to the intro. Okay, there we go. So the intro is automate your 3D assets. That's what we're going to do. So obviously the assets are going to be the torus rings here. Okay, so so everything's going to be done on the command line. You just need Blender. I'm using Blender 5.0, continuation from yesterday's when we did the review of Blender 5.0, the Python API. Okay, so I also implore you to subscribe, like, follow, and leave comments, because what happens is the more you subscribe, the more the algorithm sends it out to more people. So those viewers will come, they'll share some information, some tips and tricks, or they'll request something which I'll go and review, and then I'll share with the rest of you. Now, on to the show. Okay, so as you can see here, we're going to, you see, these are all animated. Each of them has, we're going to use keyframes. I'll explain that when we actually take a look at the code. So we're going to, instead of just simply designing, I know they are low poly, that's not the point. The point is the animation. So instead of just creating rings, we're actually going to animate them. As you can see, you can do fancy stuff you want. This is just an animation tutorial. And what I wanted to just see if things have changed in Blender 5.0, which they have. So that's why I use very simple keyframes to make sure this will also work in, say, Blender 4.5. Most of you might still be on Blender 4.5 or even below that. Okay, so and then for the web, we use the Google's model -viewer web component. So if you're impatient, I have the code here for you. Just expand, grab the code, put it in the Blender scripting tab, and it will create the stuff for you. But if you're actually patient and you see what else I do, I'll give you some extra tips as well, as I always do. So obviously on the command line, you save the Python script, and then you just run the Blender -b. The B is for running in the background. If you don't put -b, it will open up Blender, and that will actually be a little bit slow because it has to draw everything in Blender as well. So -b means runs in the background. Then -p, the capital P there, that's for the Python, and then the Python script which will be here, and that will be much faster than running it on let's say using the GUI. So the only thing you need Blender for is obviously to run Blender in the background. You don't actually need to open up Blender. So I'm going to also I should actually stop copy pasting some of this stuff here, because Blender 5.0 is not a long-time support release. That's actually wrong. I said I usually copy stuff over. I should actually stop doing that. Maybe I should start using some AI to help me with that, so that I don't make this. I'll fix it after the tutorial. So for HDR, I did try to use an EXR with a model viewer. That didn't work. I think it doesn't support some EXR types, so it still has poor support here. From what I heard, some other libraries like maybe 3JS could actually support it. However, what I found is HDR, this one is better supported, so that's why I was converting the EXR to HDR, and that's supported. The KTX and KTX2, those ones, although they were meant to run right on a GPU, I don't think I've ever seen anywhere in the world, unless you had like some specific extension library for those to work, because those are usually for hopefully in the future when web GPU becomes more popular or used, those ones will actually be what do you call it? They'll become more like the standards they really are. So those are both created by or maintained by the Kronos group. Right. So and then for the HTML, you just need to load up this module. That's the just use a CDN. That's the model viewer. That will let you view the model in the viewer. Okay, and then the code for that is here. If you're impatient, we just we just use the exported GLB file. So GLB, that's another format. GLTF, that's another format by the Kronos group. That one is JSON, but the B is the binary one, meaning everything is there. So having to have a very large JSON file, especially when you have like textures. So this is what we create. You see inside Blender. You see, this is all generated using the script. And I made it low poly. The low poly because it's fast, and you should be able to generate this even if you're low power, like maybe you're using a laptop, or some people have actually gotten Blender to run on their phones. So maybe it's a Node phone or a Node device. So you should be able to generate this as well, especially on the command line. It should be nice and fast. Okay, so that's it, and this is a live stream. So I click this button here. You can hear that's live. So I'm gonna go down here. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'll stop right there, and we can get started. So as you can see here, my Python script generates the blend file, generates a GLB file. And this is the Courtyard. I just did a link to the Courtyard file that I generated from the Courtyard.exr from Blender. So I'm going to delete this because they're going to be regenerated. And I'm going to show you this too. So as I said yesterday, Blender 5.0. Obviously, there's some breakages in the Python. So even the document might be a little bit off. So, or maybe the version of Blender 5.0 you have doesn't have all the features yet. So that's why I had to print out some of the things, and I'll show you these test scripts if I do remember. All right. With that said, let's actually let me open up all of the scripts, and I'll show them to you. So let's start with the HTML. That's an easy one. I'll just zoom in here a little bit. By the way, it's actually sunny today. So I cleared up that snow which happened yesterday after I cleared the snow yesterday. So it was actually pretty easy today. It's been sunny, I think, since about 5 o'clock this morning. I think this is the first sun this entire month, so it's actually pretty nice. Although it's pretty cold, but it's really nice. I prefer this weather because it's outside that's ±7 degree range, which I dislike. This one, it's more colder, but the snow is easy to deal with because it's less windy. Usually when it's -7 to +7, it's very windy and the temperature just drops. It could be like +7 today, 0, -7, so it could snow, freeze, and all that. It's actually the most dangerous time. Okay, back to the tutorial. So the doc type, HTML here, the viewport, obviously a device width, that's in case I look at it on my phone or a smaller device. The title, low poly animated rings, and then this is the module. You see I'm using a CDN unpark.com to load the model-viewer. I'm using the minified version. And then the styling, I'm not going to talk about styling, that's subjective. So here, just put an H1 tag heading, oops, and do that. So this one just says low poly animation rings, and then the model viewer here, the source will be our GLB file. Yes, I know I deleted it, we'll create it soon. And then the alt just says low poly animated rings, and then the attributes auto -rotate, camera -controls, AR, shadow intensity, I will set that to 1. The environmental image, that's the Courtyard HDR, and then animation name, it's animation. This is the default, even though you don't call it animation, that you always need to put that to get it to start playing GLB files. And then again, autoplay here. That's it. Okay, so let's go take a look at the actual meat of this tutorial, which is this one here. So I'm importing the Blender Python module. I'm importing math. So the reason I use math is, as you can see down here, it's for stuff like rotations and also radians. Because Blender uses radians, doesn't. For example, you can't put 90 degrees, right? You have to use a radian. So that's what that's why I also import math there. And then I import the OS. The reason I import the OS is because I want to save the blend file, the GLB file, relative to where the Python file is. So that's why I do that as well. And the other reason is because if I'm using like a Flatpak version, that one is sandboxed to a certain place, so I want to be able to still save my, as I said, the blend file and the GLB file relative to where the Python file is. So as you can see here, see I have to get the OS path dir name. That's what this is here. You guys might see it. I don't need this anymore because the one that comes in the Fedora repository is good enough, and it's updated recently enough, so that's fine. So as you can see here, this is variables. The vertices here it's set to 16, the thickness is 0.3. You can fool around with these numbers if you want, and the animation frames are set to 60, the rotation 2 times math pi. So you guys might understand what that means. It's obviously pi is 3.14 ish 2 times, so that's going to be a full rotation. The rings, as you guys saw, there's a red ring, green ring, and a blue ring. So I created some data here, so you could use a JSON file if you want, but yeah, this is a very simple one, so I just put everything in here. And I'll explain this data. So basically what we have for this data is we have the, as you can see here, we have the name. So for example, red, we have the major radius. So for example, 4.0, 3.0, because remember, we have the big ring, small ring, and the smallest ring, if you will, right? So that's the radius, and obviously the color. These are the colors here. It was red, green, and blue. If you remember, I said again, we have to use radians. So for example, instead of putting like RGB, like 128, 128, 128, you have to, it's between 0 and 1. Okay, and then finally the axis. So yeah, the axis, that's X, Y, and Z down there. Okay, and then we have this utility function. This just clears the scene. You guys have seen this before, so I'm not gonna go through that again. One of the viewers requested that I do more Python object-oriented programming. That's OOP. So that's why I did, and I found that it's also easier for me because it's so. Okay, now obviously this is all I have to do, just 2 lines. So why do I use the method? It's quite simply copy paste it. The reason I delete everything is because right now in 2023, Blender comes with a default cube, default light, and default camera. So in the future, they might remove them or they might add extra stuff. So I don't need them because I said all I care about is the GLB file, and so I don't need the camera, I don't need the light, I don't need the cube as well. Remember, we're creating rings, not cubes. And then for the material, this one creates a glossy material. So we pass in a name, the color RGB, if you remember from our data there. And then what it does, it uses the principled BSDF. Base color obviously set to the color there. And the roughness, so if you lower the roughness, it's going to make it more glossy. And then the metallic value, obviously we put it up a little bit high. Just that will be up to you how you want what value you want in there, and then just return that material. And then to apply the material, this applies the material to the actual object. There's also a function for do that as well. So I'm saying I could easily have done all this, but I'm saying it's just easier to do it this way so that I can repeat this. Let's say I wanted to make like 6 rings or 7 rings, you see, instead of having to create like a whole bunch of code, you can use the functions. It just make your life much more easier. Okay, and then this one generates the actual rings. You see, we clear this. We call that function to clear the scene. Then we create an object to hold the ring object, and we use a for loop. So you see, it will go through our data, the rings data, and then the first thing we do is we create the material. Then it will add that we're going to use a torus. So we add the low poly vertices, the radius, the ring thickness, align it to the world, and that's the location. And then after that we give it a name, then we apply the material, and then we append it to the rings object here. That we append the ring and the axis. And then after that this for loop here will create all of our three rings. See, this is why I use object-oriented programming, because with this I don't need to change anything. If I want to add another ring, a different color, I can just put it in the object. So this will be that's why I did that way. And then we animate them. So the animation, they're all going to be at the same time. So again, we just go through our ring info here, the axis here, and then we animate. All of them are going to be animated. So we can see X, Y, Z. We're just animating on the I think the Z axis is the word we're animating. We'll check it out. Oh no, sorry, I was wrong. Depending on what value it said there. So this one is on the X, this is on the Y, and the other one I think is also on the Y or on the Z axis. You can see here it will you see X, Y, etc. Okay, and then we insert the last keyframe, I believe, and that's it. Yeah. So then the camera setup, I should probably have put this on. I should have created a function for this. To actually do, and I should have created functions for both the camera and the light, but it doesn't really matter. So it's pretty easy. You see, set the camera, add it to the scene. The good thing about when you use Python API is when you add a camera, it automatically knows where to put itself, especially where your content is. Same with the light, so you don't need to fool around with this. You can a little bit, but there's really no need to. And then we save create the save path for the Blender file. And the output file, as you see, it uses the script underscore dir. And then after that, we save this is how to save the blend file. You use ops.wm.save underscore os underscore main file. And then to export the GLB file, we select all the objects, and then we have the ops.export underscore scene .gltf, and then obviously the file path here, that's for the name, the final destination, export underscore format with GLB because we want a binary. Then we have export underscore apply true, export underscore y up true, export underscore animation set to true because remember we actually want the animations there, and use underscore selection set that to true. And that's it. And then in our to run the main function here, we just generate underscore animation rings. That's it, we're done. Now, as I said before, sometimes you might want a specific node. So here's code to output it. So the problem with this was the F curve because I'm not sure what Blender is trying to do there. I think they're moving things around, but documentation hasn't kept up. So you need to find out which one. So this one, this is here. And this is a test one. I was testing to make sure things will work. So that's why I also ran this. Like I was trying to create a red glossy, green glossy, and a blue glossy after I got the results from this test BSDF nodes. Principle. Okay, so that's it. Now all I need to do is just we don't need any of this anymore, so I can close all of this. Go to the command line, and I'm going to run this one first. So remember, it's Blender space -b for background capital P, and then I'm going to try and put principled. So when I run that, it's going to tell me, see, I'm running Blender 5.0. You see, F curves doesn't work. And then, I'm going to try now the test one. Test.py. And this one, you see, it's able to create. So this one tells me that using simple, you see, it says material, these nodes expected to be moved in Blender 6.0. So, and then it says GPU function for drawing a node visible. So this, you see, this gives me some of the problems I have. You see all these issues. So that's very important because what that tells me is I can. What that tells me is that I have see deprecation warnings and etc. So, oops, I forgot I should have to zoom out here. It's easier to read. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of problems here. Oh, this one is trying to run Blender 5.0. That is weird. Huh. Okay, that is super weird. Yeah, but you see, for example, the uniform underscore color, those are type of things you find out. That's something sometimes instead of just reading the documentation, as the documentation might not have kept up, must have some, because they probably do the same thing I do when I write the articles. They probably do a copy pasta, and then they forget to make some changes, so just be aware of that. Anywho, so let's clear this. This should work because I know I tested this on Blender 5. So Blender space -b space -P space low poly animated rings.py, and you see it's done. It created, you see here, it exported it properly, and it's done here. So it also created a Blender file. So let's open up this Blender file. Just double click on it, and you see this is the what do you call it? This is our, come on. This is what it created. So it created 3 rings. Now the reason you don't see them is because by default it's the shading it's using is this one here, which is the viewport shading. So so if you want to see it, you have to go to viewport shading, material preview instead of the solid. So you have to go to that one or the other one. So let's go to that one. You can see now, you can see the colors, and you see, remember it was set to 60 frames of the animations. If I go down a little bit, you can see all of them. You can see where all of them do rotate. All of them are rotating. All of them are rotating. So if you remember, the blue one is only rotating, I believe that's the x-axis. Let me click on it. You can check it out. Yeah, there we go. No, sorry. It rotated a little bit on the y-axis. If we go to the green one and see where that one is rotating, yeah, that one's on the y-axis, and the red one, let's see what the red one is doing. Red one is on the x-axis. So there you go. So you can rotate. You can do all of them if you want that way. That was, remember, in the code. So what you do is you go to the scripting tab, scripting here. You click new, then you can paste your code in here. Then it will also generate the file and everything as well, depending on what you want. Now to export, you can simply go back here to edit this, file export. You see there's GLTF version 2, so you open that, and then you can pick binary. You see here, obviously remember that I use binary, but there's also there's a separate GLTF that just with JSON and the textures. So that's, so it's, as I said, so opening up Blender, you can do everything on the command line. That's what we did. So if you go to shading, shading here, shading, you can see it's also there, and this one is using the forest. So I said the forest is not as good as the courtyard for other things, but it depends what you want to do. So there we go. So you can see it added the material. This one is red. If I pick the other one, it's green, and obviously the one in the middle, it's blue. There we go, or bluish color. Okay, so that's it. So I'm going to close down Blender here. I'm not going to save. Now I need to now we need some type of a server in order to view our model. Before I do that, let me check. I think Odyssey should be ready. Yeah, I'm going to check the live stream, because yesterday I had like 7 chat from BitChute, which I missed live, but that's fine. Okay, so let's clear this. Oops, one more place. Clear. So I'm going to use just the Python server. You can use any HTML type server. It could be PHP, Apache, Nginx, etc., etc. You just need one. So go to Python. I'm going to use Python space -m space http.server, and I'm just going to give it a, I use 8,000 here. So by default it's going to use 0.0.0.0, so that allows me to use localhost. It allows me to use 127.0.0.1 and the IP address of this machine. The IP address of this machine is perfect because I can obviously use the phone or a laptop or something else to connect to this machine. Okay, so with that, let's open up any web browser. So I'm going to use Chromium here, and I'll just type in, I'll just type localhost and 8,000. So localhost 8,000, and which one do I want? It's low, it's HTML file, this one here. So there we go. and it's playing by itself. I'm going to take a little sip of water here. So it's rotating by itself. In case you're wondering, see my hands are here. It's all rotating by itself. So now, if I use my mouse, obviously you see I can also rotate it like this. You see they are moving. I can also rotate it like that, any way you want. Like you can also zoom in, you see that as usual, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. Yeah, so you can do a lot. Yeah, there we go. So you can put it any way you want. And I said you can do many things. And this was just a simple one. I want to do an animation because normally I do animations. I think like maybe once a month or so. So I want to do animations this time just so you can see that it is possible to do some fancy things very easily. Just a few lines of Python code. Yeah. So there we go. And especially if you use the object-oriented way, you can see if I wanted to create another one of this, I can put it in there. All right, so while that plays, let's finish this up. Let's go to, if you're looking to deepen your Python and Blender skills, check out my resources. I have a book called Learning Python. It's available on Amazon. The link is in the description. I also have a book called Mastering Blender Python API. The link is also in the description. Both of those books are available on Amazon. Now, if you do get the Mastering Blender Python API, just be aware that obviously I created during the Blender 4.4 and 4.5. So some of the things might not work in Blender 5.0, but yesterday's tutorial should help you resolve those issues. If you guys want, I can go over the same thing like I did last year and maybe update it for Blender 5.0. But before I do that, I want to do some grease pencil stuff and maybe I'll create a new version of that book, like a version 2 or something like that for next year. Okay, then there's also courses. There's Learning Python that's available on jumboshop.com. The link is also in the description. If you guys want to learn online at your own pace, that's a perfect course for that. There's Web IDE. And last year I did several tutorials using the Web IDE from jumboshop.com. So yeah, all you need is a web browser, or it's a one-time payment. If you want some coupons, let me know. I can generate some. I haven't done any so far this year, but I can definitely generate some for you guys. And I also offer services. For example, if you need one-on-one Python tutorials, including Blender, you can contact me on jumbo.com/contact. If there's any applications you want, you can contact me on jumboservices.com/contact. Okay, and then I also have other recommended resources. For example, I live in a rural area, and as I said before, I'm surrounded just by farms. There's nothing here. There's no internet. The cellular service is sporadic. So I use SpaceX Starlink residential service. I do have a referral link. What this means is that if you're thinking of getting SpaceX Starlink, use my referral link for the residential service. You get a massive discount, and I'll get 1 month free. So that's one easy way you can easily support me with no extra cost to you. Then I also have the Honeywell HeatBud personal ceramic heater. You can see this is the same one here. It has 2 settings, low and high, and it has a protection, meaning that if it trips over, it triggers this little guy here, and that will switch it off automatically. Low uses 170 watts, high uses 250 watts. Now the temperature right now is outside is probably 16 degrees. I can verify that. I'll show you that in a second. I'll show you. So even though it's cold, very cold outside, you see, if you guys can hear, the heater is not on here, and they said I've set the temperature to 15 degrees, and this little guy, it's not meant to heat up the entire house. It's a space heater. It only heats up your personal space. So this little guy saves me hundreds of dollars per month on propane, because obviously heating here is by propane. but it's very expensive. So I can set the temperature set to 15 degrees, and this little guy for my personal space, like this, my desk right here, that's all I need to heat up. It works very, very well. I don't need the heat to be like instant. If it stays on for 1 minute or 2 minutes, I switch it on maybe 1 or twice an hour if it's really, really cold, and it's always on low. The only time I use high is if I accidentally click it. But yeah, it works extremely well. And I've already mentioned this before. My heating bill, or the propane bill for all of November was $137. That's amazing. When you compare my first year here during a mild winter, I was paying $350 a month, and then last year it's a very harsh winter. The coldest month I paid $250 again because of this guy, and I said I'm gonna save. No matter how cold it is outside, I'm gonna save. Obviously, I'm gonna dress warmly too. I'll save money. And then I also have so that's an affiliate link, meaning I get a commission. It's no extra cost to you. So if you're thinking of getting a personal heater, space heater, I would definitely recommend. I do recommend it. And back on Amazon, I also have a novelette. This was my first novelette. It's called The Algorithmic Serpent. It's available right now. You see there, it's by me, Edward Ojambo. And it's about a scientist who creates an AI system and loses control, and he has to regain control of his mind and the AI system. Just get back. So this is, as I said, it's available right now. You can pick it up. It's a psychological thriller. Let me know what you think. There's also an ebook version. Both are very affordable. They're almost at cost. The majority of the cost for this one goes to printing and shipping, and for the ebook, it's for storage costs. And very recently, I also published the guide. It's called the Recession Business Blueprint. It's available right now. I just released it literally just last week. It's a guide to help you start a business during the recession. I started my business during the last recession in 2009. So obviously I took some of that knowledge and I updated some of the things that you need to do to survive during the lean times when you start the business, because it will be harder to borrow money. It will be harder to, even if you're trying to rent a place or get some equipment or just some tools, it will be much harder obviously during the lean times, but you can make it yourself. And I said, it's actually much easier now to start a business than back then, because back then I had to meet my customers in person. I had to drive to them or take a bus, etc. It doesn't matter. I'm saying these days people are more okay with meeting, say, virtually, like online. It took me, honestly, even 10 years after the business, customers were very hesitant to, for example, to do virtual meets, and they always want to do it in person. And so it was crazy. But I'm saying is that people are. That's probably the only good thing about the pandemic, is people became comfortable virtual meeting. So I said those are the type of things actually much easier for you to start a business. So it's a guide. And speaking of the guide, tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to actually talk about it. So look out for that. It's going to be 8:30 tonight. I've already created the short promo. So what I'll do is the short promo is probably going to go up sometime today, maybe 5 p.m. Eastern, and then the long, the live one will be tonight. So it's going to be live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I'll review the book, and so that's the official promotion is tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I didn't know when to fit. What's the best time to fit. I say no, let me just do it live tonight. Why not? And it has some Blender component in that. Obviously, as I said, Blender is my video editor, so I do use I used it to create the promotion. The entire promotion was all done in Blender. Okay, so if you want to know more about me, I have a blog here. I'm a software engineer, web developer, author, and I have You can explore my books, the bookshop on Amazon. If you need support, ojamboservice.com/contact, and then if you're ready to learn, ojamboshop.com there for the courses. And again, if you want to reach out to me, for example, this article, there's a comment area. You can put your comment there. Just make sure it's obviously related to the content of the tutorial. Other ways to contact me is, as I said before, the contact forms, ojambo.com/contact, ojamboshop.com/contact, ojamboservice.com/contact. And if you want to follow me, channels, Odyssey, Rumble, BitChute, and YouTube. That's another way you can contact me. Alright, so with that said, I'm going to put on the outro now, and I'll go back up here. I'm going to check the live chats and see if there's any live chat requests or comments, and I'll read them out. Okay, so I'll start with BitChute. BitChute yesterday had 7, today there's none. Odyssey, Odyssey there's none, and Rumble there's none. Okay, YouTube, surprisingly there's nothing today, but it looks like there's quite a few viewers. Okay, alright, so what is that +1 there? There's a +1 there. Okay. Oh, by the way, speaking of YouTube, looks like Google finally fixed that issue. I went to the live chat and I refreshed the page several times. I didn't use like 100% of the resources, so it looks like that's been resolved, and that's very, very good. Oh, it looks like they added another feature as well. Now there's like a start a break, create highlight video, auto stream marker. Oh, that's actually not a bad idea. Okay, and then there's share, and then it says that now there's a live button, shows you how long I guess you've been sharing. Okay, so those must be the things that messed it up. All right, so okay, that's interesting. All right, so that's it. So the other thing I want to tell you guys is that if you want to see what's upcoming, you go to ojambo.com, watch menu, live summary. You can see this is what we're doing tonight, the recession business blueprint. And then for tomorrow, we're going to do the HTML voting form, and then the stuff after that. So some of this stuff was requested, and then after that, about 4 days from now or so, we'll also go back to the AI stuff. This one is going to be a pretty fun tutorial. Don't be sure not to miss this AI one. You're going to like that one. Alright, so that's it, guys. I'll see you tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and for the rest of you who can't make it tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, I'll see you tomorrow.